Hello, I am Sonya Madison,
And I'm Jonathan Mason.
and welcome to Law Unfiltered, where we talk about current events as well as practical events and give you some of the legal undertones. So recently, we're still talking about the elections because it's been such a big thing and something we've talked about for several months and a couple of years since it's been going. But now that we have the results, I think one of the big questions is, why is it not the majority person who receives majority votes getting to be the position? And I know we talked about this briefly in terms of Electoral College, but could you briefly talk about why we have the Electoral College and then whether or not you feel it should be majority wins or let's stick to the system that's been in place?
Yeah, well, the Electoral College was founded because the founding fathers didn't trust the general population to choose the president, so they had this distrust of direct democracy. And so they felt like a team of elected officials, people who were more savvy, who could better vet the presidential candidates, and would be a better system than allowing the people to directly, based on sheer numbers of votes. And how do they get the? I never really thought about. I just knew, you had to get 270, but I was like, well, how do they get the numbers?
Well, I know the total is like 538, and so I think 270, I guess, is the
right. But how do they select how many each state gets? So apparently, it's based on the number of seats in Congress you have. So the number of representatives added to the 2 senators for each state. So so that's how they came up with it. Now, the question you ask, should we abandon that system?
Well, and before you get there, because to me, one interesting point that you've laid out is they did this because they didn't trust, the American people, but how they go about picking the electors and what the electors have to do, because they pretty much have to vote by their constituents.
Well,
in their
it
state.
seems now, though, that people would think it's the opposite. It's like the people should pick the representative and not the electors.
I'm saying if they don't trust us, but yet the electors are still voting how we vote. I mean, it'd be different if the electors can pretty much vote how they think we should.
But I think part of the problem is that maybe this system, and one of the purposes of it also maybe is to make sure that the smaller states have some say in because a state like California, I mean, it has a significant number of electoral votes, but if it was just population based, I mean, California could, really totally swing an election. Say if a candidate from California was running, but here's my general point of view on this. It's like when something happens and we don't like the result, I just think we have to be very careful about crying about changing the system because it didn't work the way we wanted to work in this particular situation. So it's been set up this way for hundreds of years now. And generally speaking, I think there have only been 5 instances where the popular vote and the Electoral College vote was different. And I guess, of course, famously, the last time was Bush versus Gore. So where were we then? Like, it kind of eventually it died down and it went away. Now, I'm not familiar with any specific legal challenges I know there were challenges to the vote, but the actual Electoral College system, I'm not sure. That's something I'd have to look into.
Well, there have been very few, because I know that they had one challenge as to whether or not a state can force an elector to vote the way that the state is saying that they should vote. And then that was pretty much held that, yes, the state can make you do that. And that's kind of what I'm bringing to the beginning is if the whole goal was a distrust, well, you're still not meeting that goal because the only thing the electors are doing are voting for what their constituents are saying. It's not like they're taking their own.
And I'm not saying that's the whole.
Yeah, but I've heard that too. I've heard it's because of the distrust. But I also agree with you in terms of, we can't cry foul because we didn't get the outcome that we wanted. We we've had the system in for years. Clearly, even the few challenges hasn't been enough to demand change. And so we knew going in, this is the system. We didn't say, let's stop it before we get to this point. We presumed that she was going to get the whole, not only majority, but the Electoral College votes. And then it did happen, and so now we're saying foul. And so I don't hear anyone justifying it beyond, well, I mean, she got the majority. Okay, well, you need to speak more on why the system itself or the process itself isn't.
Yeah.
You know.
But fundamentally, I do have a problem with us where you have someone getting the majority of the popular votes, but not being elected president. I do think that there's, inherently a problem with that.
At what point are all the votes counted too? Because I dare say that there's probably still a lot of absentee ballots or a lot of just votes that haven't been accumulated.
Yeah, I don't know. I noticed like some people were talking about their ballots and some people took pictures of them, which they weren't supposed to do. But in some states, they were like filling out ovals to vote. And I'm like, why? That seems so antiquated. Yeah. So, it seems like that would take, when they have to tally those votes, if they're doing it that old-fashioned way, then that's going to take longer than, like here in Georgia, we have the chip card and, it's all electronic, and it seems like it's much quicker to tally those votes. And so that the whole system, the actual voting system, it seems odd to me but I guess it is a state by state or even maybe local. I guess it's state by state, I'm not sure, but that just was kind of odd.
I also remember when we talked about the North Carolina and they had those voter ID requirements, and even though that wasn't put in place, here in Georgia we had that, but I was hearing that there were a lot of issues with people who didn't have their ID, and usually if you don't, it's because you don't drive, and so having to early vote at a place that is further out than your polling place, but then not even able to go to your polling place because you don't have your ID, that caused some issues as well.
Yeah. Well, it'd be something else we talked about. It'd be interesting to see how long these protests last. I was surprised that they flared up. I saw we had them here again in Atlanta, among other cities. And I guess it's fine for people, if the people, they're disappointed or frustrated, and they just need to vent, get it out. Then I guess that's a good thing.
Well, and I would be fine if they're protesting the Electoral College. To me, protest the issue. Don't protest just because he's president. Now, if you have a fundamental issue, like when the Black Lives Matter were protesting, to me there's an issue going on. Or, when we're talking about healthcare or we're talking about immigration, when you're protesting, okay, there are some issues that, yes, we can change. But you can't, he's already elected now, we can't change the fact that he's elected. Now, we can probably look at the system and then going forward for the next time. I can better understand that, but I don't understand we're just protesting him. I just don't think that that's productive.
Yeah, I don't really see it as lasting too long. If it does, I hope that they do put, an issue on it, attach an issue to it, or get people to write their congressman or congressperson and do something. If you don't like the system, then do something to promote a change in the system. But just protesting because of who was elected, I don't know, it seems a little counterproductive.
Well, one thing before we go that we haven't talked about, and I'm curious as to what do you think his first initiative would be, because he not only won, but he has full Congress. The Republicans have the House, and you have the Senate. So what do you think the first measure or legislative that he's going to try to put in?
Well, I actually read his statement of his first 100 days or his first initiatives, and it seems like repealing Obamacare.
That was my first guess. He's going to
is up there, but that wasn't. There were a lot of them. There were things that he's not going to get passed, like putting term limits on congressmen.
Oh, really? Really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that was an issue.
Yeah.
That he had an issue. Well, I
Yeah,
know he had
and
issues
well,
with it.
and Congress responded and said, "We do have term limits. They're called elections." So even some of the things that he put in his, in his initiatives for the first 100 days, some of the Republicans have already come out and said, "No, these things aren't going to happen. Some of these things aren't going to happen." But it'd be interesting. Like they talked about repealing Obamacare, and the Republicans have been talking about that forever. But
now they
I wonder,
have
they do.
tools.
They have theoretically, they have the ability to do it. But I wonder if if meeting with President Obama and talking to him and working with him, I wonder if that would make someone change their stance somewhat on not just that issue, but in general. He had expressed so much negativity toward the president, but like President Obama was talking about the transition from Bush, and they greatly disagreed, but he recognized how helpful Bush and his staff were during the transition, and I think he gained a lot of respect for Bush from that. And I wonder if the same thing could happen here, and if at all, how that would affect his
So
governance.
are you predicting it will?
I'm not. Yeah.
Okay, you're very optimistic.
I am. I mean, it may be naive to think that, but I don't know. I mean, I just think that getting elected with all that talk and all of that was one thing, but I think now and if the Republicans want to repeal Obamacare, they're going to do it. They're just going to do it. But I just think that once you get in office, you might find that you can't do all these things that you talked about doing, even with the Republican House and Senate. So we'll see.
We'll see. It'll be interesting. I mean, while we get through our shock, now it'll be interesting to see how life will be going forward.
It will, and I mean, a lot of people like, oh, the sky's falling.
Right.
Now,
hopefully they vote in their local elections. That's
hopefully,
to me is more important.
Now, if on the other hand it turns out to be a disastrous presidency, and I hope it doesn't, then maybe we do need to look at the system and.
And especially the next 2 years, because then we'll have a midterm election, and you can change at least how the Senate looks.
Right. But it's been a long. I mean, it's rare that one party has the White House for 2 terms and then they win it again after those 2 terms are up. It's very rare that happens. So.
But I do remember when President Obama got in the first time, he had a whole Democratic Congress, and that's how he was able to get Obamacare passed and some other things passed so quickly. Yeah. But then after the midterm, it's rocking a hard place.
Well, and it could be that we have a change in midterm this time. We'll see. If it's not going well, we probably will.
We'll see. I mean, I'm curious as we talked about the last time, just where people's mindsets are right now. And if it's truly I just want change, I'm tired of the same, then maybe. But if it is this, I'm tired of being tolerant, or I have racial and misogynistic views, then I don't know if it'll change.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening. Let us know what you think, and we will catch you next time on Law Unfiltered.
See you next time.